touching on the top prop bets in the NBA today. Yesterday ended up being a pretty awesome day. I have the today's bet from yesterday pulled up here, and we can see 5 out of the 4 hit and 1 was the push. So it was a pretty profitable day. Hopefully you guys were able to take advantage of that. I'm just showing this because it was a pretty awesome day. I mean, basically all the bets hit from yesterday. But I do want to say, like, yesterday was awesome. That doesn't mean today is going to be great. This is a process, okay? And it's just pretty awesome to have a good day yesterday, but I don't want to set the wrong expectations. Like, you're going to come in here and instantly dominate. No, this is a long process. We had some free squares and some really big edges yesterday, and we were able to take advantage of that. And that's really what we're trying to do each and every day. So let's go ahead and get into today. All right, so the first NBA prop that I want to get into is going to be looking at John Collins for the under 13.5 points. And this is far from a lock and load. There might be some lock and loads later on in this video. You know, with the NHL, there's one that really stood out. Not as much of a free square as the one we got yesterday. But the NBA bets are going to be they're good enough. They're solid. I don't know if we have any like Fultz lots, like locks, like I felt like we had yesterday. Markelle Fultz. So looking at John Collins, we can see he's been over 13.5 points in 3 out of the last 5 games. You know, that suits well for him. Now, if we look at the DK Sportsbook odds, and this is going to be true across the board, is that he is projected to get the under minus 125 on DK Sportsbook. And then if we go and look at John Collins, the last time out against the Clippers, did play a lot, had 13 points. And that's kind of why it makes me feel like it's far from a lock, because he did play 31 minutes, had 13 points in that game. So far from a lock, but it was kind of the first one that popped up this morning. Then looking at Monte Morris. Okay, Monte Morris, his under is set at minus 130 to get under 11.5 points. So that's a pretty favorable number that we're getting there. And I think part of the reason why it's kind of favoring the under here is because Kendrick Nunn, obviously a Wizard player now after that trade for Hachimura and Nunn, or between Hachimura and Nunn, he's going to get some more minutes. And I think because of that, they're kind of saying Monte Morris is not going to get as much run as he had been previously getting. And we kind of saw that only had 27 minutes in the previous game. Going against the Pelicans, not exactly a lock and load matchup as well. So it does make logical sense that the books would be thinking that he would get the under here. If we look at the last game against the Pelicans, though, 13 points. So another one that is favorable given the odds, but also one that, you could pass up on if you didn't feel comfortable with it. Now, one that we're not getting the best odds on is going to be Derek White over 11.5 points. And so looking at it, it's basically a push is what they're saying it is. But I kind of see it as a little bit differently than that. You look at what Derek White does with Marcus Smart off the court, and Marcus Smart is still kind of projected to be out tonight. So you look at what Marcus Smart does with him off the court, or you look at what Derek White does with Marcus Smart off the court, he averages 13.5 real life points per 36. And so that's kind of the big caveat is that he's probably not going to get 36 minutes, but if the game stays close, he could potentially get that as well. We have seen that game against Orlando, he got banged up, had like a neck thing happen in the first half, only played like 6 minutes, still almost got the points there. And then we look at against Miami, a difficult matchup, was able to get 23 points in that game. And then last game against New York, a little bit easier of a matchup, was able to get 15. So I just kind of like the production that we have seen from Derek White recently, and I think that that's going to continue. Obviously, I feel much more comfortable if we knew that he was going to get around 32 minutes, closer to that per 36 number. So like on paper, I get why it's a push, but at the same time, I think kind of given the matchup, given the game as well, I kind of like that. And guys, like I have a decent amount of bets that I think are favorable tonight, but I don't know if we had that many like lock bets for NBA. So if you guys feel like you have one, make sure to put that in the comment section below. We're all trying to benefit. It's not like DraftKings or FanDuel where we're playing against each other. No, we're playing against PrizePicks or Underdog. So, make sure to put those in the comment section below. So one bet that's popping up slightly is going to be Quentin Grimes under 3.5 rebounds. And that is a low number. And I typically hate chasing these low numbers like that. But Grimes, we can see 3 out of the past 5 games, he's been under that. And really only 1 game has he been like really over that. He would have needed 2 more rebounds against Atlanta and Washington. And obviously got the over last game against Boston. If we look at it on just DK Sportsbook, they have the line set at minus 125, which is actually going to be true across the board, across all the sports books. So I like that we do have that kind of continuity between all the sports books saying that he is more likely to get the under. And so looking at it, we can see on the season, Grimes averages about 3.4. So it is one that probably will be close, but at the same time is far from a lock. Okay. Last time out against Brooklyn, he wasn't getting that many minutes, so obviously not going to care about that game log there. And now we look at KJ Martin. I think the over rebounds here is going to be a good spot, and so do the sports books. This is, I don't want to say that's my favorite bet today, because they are all kind of looking like they're slightly over 50% chance. Like these are the strongest bets I think we're getting, but at the same time, like I don't want to say any of them are locks or close to being locks. And I typically never like to say that. But looking at KJ Martin, we can see 4 out of the past 5 games, he's been able to get the over. Last game, he missed the over by 1 rebound as well. So it's pretty encouraging to see that he has been able to really kind of just dominate recently. The sportsbooks collectively have this number set at minus 118. So favorable as well. And I think the over or the under was set at like plus 105. So I like to see how those numbers correlate together. That's very nice. And part of this play is that we look at Kevin Porter being out and also Jalen Green. That should mean that someone like KJ Martin gets a boost. And if we were to look at his per 36 numbers, it doesn't exactly say that. It says 6.4 rebounds per 36. Okay, so that's slightly a little bit of a worry. And maybe if you are worried about that, you could do points and rebounds. He averages about 19 points per 36 with those 2 off the court, with Green and with Porter off the court, and averages about 6.4 rebounds. So maybe this would be the approach to go with instead. The sportsbook are saying that, yeah, he is most likely going to get the over, but this is kind of a way in which you could prepare for both. And if we look at his game log, he has been getting buckets as well. That game with Cleveland was a game that they didn't need him to play a lot of minutes because it ended up being a blowout. If that game stays close, he probably would have gotten there. And if we look at this game, it is projected to stay close. It is projected to be a higher scoring game as well. So in theory, this should be a safe bet, and that's kind of why I like it. That's kind of why it's one of my more favorite ones of the day. And then for what it's worth, it really just depends on the minutes there. For Jabari Smith, he does average 18 points per 36 with those 2 off the court, with Jalen Green and with Kevin Porter off the court. So really this bet would just be on the minutes. And we can see the minutes just really haven't been there for him. Now, yes, last game was a blowout, so thus he didn't get those minutes. So that's part of the equation as well. But going against Detroit, it's a soft matchup. He should be able to get there. And then for what it's worth, I'm very curious as to where we're going to get props for Eason as well. He actually gets the most run with those 2 players off the court. He averages about 18 points, 11.9 rebounds, 2 assists, and about 44 fantasy points per 36. Not going to get 36 minutes, not going to get that production fantasy point wise, but that is someone we could potentially look at. If we get a low number for fantasy points for Eason, that's going to be huge. But I also don't mind like Sengun. It really depends on what numbers we're getting for him as well. Sengun has been someone really this whole season we have been saying he just needs the minutes and he's going to be a great play. Well, we finally have seen him get the minutes recently, and so thus he could be a good option as well. We just need more props out there. Okay, we can see the minutes there. That's huge. We look at his per 36 numbers with those players off the court. 19.9 points, 13 rebounds, 5.7 assists, 2 blocks, 1 steal, 50 fantasy points per 36 with them off the court. So once again, the bet here somewhere, once we get those odds, is going to be really just probably betting the over there, depending on the line that we get there. But it could be a fun one, especially against Detroit, and we could potentially stack that game as well. So one of the best lines we were getting, and I just don't like it, is Lauri Markkanen under 9.5 rebounds. If you guys have been following my channel this NBA season, you know I've been on Lauri a lot. He's actually really benefited me in a lot of best ball drafts. But looking at it, we can see, minus 125, and that's going to be true across all the sports books. So far from lock and load, and we can see that. But this game has the potential to be a blowout. Okay, and so that's part of the bet as well. As we're hoping that's going to be low scoring like Dallas always kind of has. And then we're also kind of hoping that would be a blowout. So looking at Dallas, there could be a spot here as well. We got Luka and Christian Wood projected to be out. So a lot of people are probably going to try to figure out where they need to go here. And just looking at the per 36 numbers, Tim Hardaway Jr. doesn't exactly get that many more minutes, and he only averages 17.4 fantasy points per 36. So he is someone that can shoot to get hot. And it is a good matchup for them. But, I just worry about this. I feel like this number's a little bit too high. Now, we could potentially go with Finney Smith as well. Averages 11.8 points per 36, but we can see, right at 11.5. So that one would feel like we're forcing it. And they haven't really given us any props for Spencer Dinwiddie just yet. The ones that they have given us, though, are not the best ones just yet. So just as an FYI, he does average 26.9 points per 36 with Christian Wood and with Luka off the court. So big numbers there. 4 rebounds, 9 assists. 44 fantasy points as well. So, we could potentially have a good spot for Spencer Dinwiddie. We just don't have it yet. We don't have those lines just yet. And then we're looking at Mikal Bridges under 3.5 assists. Not a perfect bet. Okay, especially going against the Spurs. Don't love that. But they do have this number set at minus 130. He is someone on the season averages 3.5 assists. Okay. And with Chris Paul back, we've seen the usage go back to where it had been previously. So he is also someone that maybe potentially with the line we get, we could bet under fantasy points as well. Not expected to do as well as he had been with all the Phoenix starters basically out. And that's part of why the sportsbooks are favoring at minus 130. All right. So you guys know that when we don't get a lot of great NBA bets, I typically like to give you guys some strong PGA bets. Right now, if we go by betting tag, and this is on the 9 to 5 sheet, It's kind of a beta right now. It works, but in beta. Looking at the tournament, I don't like really touching the birdie or better matchups. They're more 50-50 than I would like. In theory, Thomas Dietrich over Satoshi Kadera would be a good one. You got Siwoo over Cameron Champ, and then Max Homa over Trey Mullinax. I would feel most comfortable with Max Homa scoring more birdies than Trey Mullinax, but the one I like the most today are going to be these greens and regulation ones. So Colin Morikawa yesterday barely got the over. He got the over on the last hole. Okay. And so once again, the line is set at 13.5 for greens and regulation. And if you kind of looked at the shot tracker that they have, he was very close. He was on like the fringe on a couple that were actually on the green. It was very close. So he's still favored to get the under here. It's a bet I don't mind. And then Sungjae Im is actually giving us the best odds to get the under here as well. So this is probably one of my more favorite bets of the day. Sungjae Im under 13.5 greens and regulation. And then looking at Ricky Fowler, who really came through for us yesterday. This was kind of an anchor as well as the hockey bet. Was Ricky Fowler over 6.5 fairways hit yesterday, ended up at 8. They moved the number up only 0.5. And so he's still pretty favored, just not as favored as he was yesterday. So for me, my two PrizePicks bets on PGA are looking like Sungjae Im under 13.5 greens and regulation. You could do Colin Morikawa as well, but I still like Ricky over the fairways hit. If anything, it's going to be a push. All right, so one of the best bets that we're getting today is going to be another NHL bet. Okay, looking at right now, the line is set at 2.5. Okay, it's not as much of a hammer, but we look at the under, it's set at plus 140 for the under. Okay, and the over is set at minus 146. So obviously we'd be betting the over here, and that's just such a great number. If we just want to pull it up on DK Sportsbook, they are saying it's minus 150 there. So that's a really good number. I don't want to say it's going to be a free square, but it is another very strong NHL bet, and that's kind of why I like to pull in these bets, because we saw for NBA, the best line that we got was like minus 135, where today the best line we're getting is minus 146, and that's insane. And the under is set at plus 140. So basically they're saying, if anything, it's going to be 2 shots on goal, but it has a really strong likelihood to get the over of 2.5. And then another strong bet we're going to get is Evan Rodriguez over 2.5 shots on goal. They currently had this set, and this is DK Sportsbook, currently has the set at minus 145. Collectively across all sportsbook, it's closer to minus 140, but still going to be a very good number there. So if you're looking at two very favorable bets today on today's slate, it would be Rodriguez and Terry over shots on goal. And personally, I love betting the over more than I do the under. So you could do that as well. So another bet, and we're starting to get to the unders here, is Jordan is favored to get the under at minus 140 of 3.5 shots on goal. So if you guys want to chase that, you certainly can. We got Kevin Hayes at over 2.5 shots on goal at minus 140. So good odds there. And then Joel Eriksson is going to be a decent bet as well. We pull up his line. It's set at minus 145 as well. So another very favorable bet. So we have 3 really strong NHL bets, and probably 2 strong PGA bets, and then so we'll toss in 1 NBA bet to go with these ones. And so here are the bets for today. We got Troy Terry over 2.5 shots on goal. That's highly favored to get the over there. It's not as much of a lock as Kevin yesterday, but it is looking like a very good one. I said Kevin yesterday was like a bad taco. Well, this would kind of be that case as well. It's like we're getting a minus 10 discount, which is still very good. Evan Rodriguez and Joel Eriksson, they are both players that have minus 145 odds to get their over as well, which are very strong. Sungjae Im projected to get less greens in regulation by a number, by a full green. So it should be set at 12.5. And then Ricky as well. This should be set at 8. It's set at 7. And then KJ Martin is currently my favorite NBA bet. As it sits right now, they did a really good job with the NBA bets is really what it looks like after yesterday. They kind of needed to, right? So it does feel like if you are doing NBA bets, you are more or less forcing them. Obviously, NBA is really fun to bet on, so that's up for you guys to decide if you want to do that. That's all I have for you guys for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, you know what to do. Give a like and subscribe. That helps me continue to be able to put out more content for you guys. All right, let's have a good slate, and as always, let's keep cashing.